Part 33. The prince wants to wipe out the bandits, so he plans everything. The bandits who looted Ningxi village were nowhere to be seen, nor did the government garrison send troops to arrest them. For a while, rumors abounded in Liangcheng. Is this the case? What does the government do for food? There were people talking all over the Go Land building. Government. They are also people who are bullying and fearing evil. Those people are extremely vicious. In order to protect themselves, they dare not chase after the bandits, right? Someone sneered. Hey! With such a big incident, who would dare to go out of the city now? If the bandits are still nearby, and one of them loses his life if he is not careful, it will be a big loss. Someone sneered. You think everything will be fine if you leave the city? Ah, look at the government's style. When the bandits enter the city one day, they don't dare to make any moves, right? Don't be alarmist. But I heard that the prince was furious and vowed to wipe out the bandits in one fell swoop. As soon as these words came out, everyone laughed, and someone immediately refuted, in one fell swoop. He sent troops to destroy them for us to see. There is no movement. Is it possible that the prince can make the bandits obediently capture with just one word? What a joke. Ming Yu didn't take the comments outside seriously at all. He was at the desk at the moment, frowning slightly from time to time, tilting his head to think for a while before continuing to write. At this time, a servant came over lightly, for fear of disturbing the contemplative Ming Yu. Your Highness, Master Shu is here. Ming Yu didn't lift his head. Let him come in, this prince has already said. No need to report, just come directly. Before he could finish speaking, Shu Wen had already walked in and saluted to Ming Yu. Ming Yu waved his hand, still concentrating on the things under his hands. Is everything ready? Shu Wen nodded. Basically everything is ready. And the minister has brought it. After speaking, he took out a booklet with both hands serve. Ming Yu glanced up and motioned him to put it on the table. You've been organizing these things these days. I think you're more familiar with this, so let's talk about it first. Yes. Shu Wen organized the language and concluded, this group of bandits, led by Song Qingfu, is entrenched near the Wanyan mountain in the north of Liangzhou. This Song Qingfu was a little bastard 2 years ago, but later, for some unknown reason, the original leader discovered, so he began to promote him and put him in the position of the second leader. There were still many people who were dissatisfied, but he did a few beautiful things and slowly began to convince the public. A year ago, the original leader fell ill. After he died, Song Qingfu directly took the position of the big leader. Death from illness? Ming Yu put down the pen in his hand, pondered for a while, and asked, died from illness for no reason. Have you investigated the original leader? Shu Wen nodded. He has always been meticulous in his work, and it is impossible not to check this. I checked. The former leader fought with other forces 2 years ago because of turf issues, although he defeated the enemy forces, but he did not ask for it. Good. I heard that he was seriously injured at the time. It was at that time that Song Qingfu first showed his edge and was valued by the former leader. Shu Wen paused, and seeing that Ming Yu was listening carefully, he continued, just because of this injury, died of illness within a year. Speaking of which, he seemed to have thought of something, and asked in astonishment, my prince, do you mean there is something tricky here? His death, why didn't I think of it? Ming Yu was a little ashamed, but he didn't think so much. Let alone that it was bad for young people to make up too much brain. However, that being said, based on his past experience, it should be from the experience of Dog Blood TV series. This is indeed a problem. Ming Yu nodded calmly, and before he spoke, Shu Wen said excitedly, I will go and check along this line again. Maybe I can find something useful. Ming Yu didn't want to scan him intrigued. he asked with an what is the current internal structure of the bandit? How is Song Qingfu? Is he really able to convince the public? Ruthless, small-minded, and tolerant of dissent. Over the past 2 years, their subordinates have continued to make small moves. And methods to exclude dissidents have emerged in an endless stream. Now they have almost become Song Qingfu's words. Any voice against him will disappear directly after a long time. For example, the old man who used to follow the original leader has basically been cleaned up. Everyone dares to be angry and dare not speak. The rest are all obedient to him. In the past 2 years, he did have the means to make his subordinates have a good life, and all those who opposed him were silenced. And now almost everyone is convinced of him. But if there is really a problem with the cause of death of the original leader, can we start from here? Then do you know what kind of person the former leader was? Xu Wen thought for a while. I've heard people say that this man is outspoken, benevolent and righteous. He is loyal and responsible in dealing with others. He can be regarded as a hero. The brothers in the past followed him and thought of him, so he died suddenly. And Song Qingfu took the position rashly. It made many old people have some criticism. Ming Yu intends to start from inside and outside, as long as there are cracks and differences between them. It will be much easier to deal with. Even if there is harmony within them, they can still create cracks by themselves. It is still feasible for Xu Wen to check the cause of death of the original leader. If there is a problem with the cause of his death, it will be fine. Just thinking about it. Xu Wen hesitated and said, "My prince, there is actually one more thing. The minister has always felt a little strange, but I don't know if it is the minister's delusion." Ming Yu smiled and said, "Go ahead, you don't have to hide it when you talk here." Tucked. Xu Wen thought about it, but decided to say it. I found out that one of them is called Master Song, who seems to have high prestige. But he is not a leader, which is a bit strange. Ming Yu squinting his eyes, he supported his chin with his hand and said, "Master Song? What's the connection with Song Qingfu?" Xu Wen shook his head. "I don't know, this person lives in a secluded place, and there are very few people who really know him and have seen him. It stands to reason that in terms of Song Qingfu's background and temperament, if he wants to sit in the position of the big leader, he can't do it without a snack. But this makes the minister feel strange. He jumped up in 1 year? Is there someone behind him who is planning for him? Is this person the same as Master Song?" With so much news, Ming Yu lightened his heart. No matter who Master Song was, he just had to go as planned. As for people who didn't matter, it wouldn't hurt to think about it. He thought about it and said comfortably, "You are here, it's enough to pay attention to this person. As for whether it is the person behind the scenes, it doesn't matter, just wait for it to be caught. Although this person is a bit strange. He can't focus his energy on such a person." Xu Wen said, kindly nodded in response. But immediately, he asked worriedly, "My prince, do you have a way to deal with these bandits?" These days, the prince inquired about news, checked and sorted documents, and sent people to investigate the terrain and draw a map and sand table. However, there were rumors outside, which made him have to worry. He only hoped that the prince could come up with a countermeasure as soon as possible to kill the gang of thieves, so as to stop the mouths of those outside. "Well, it's almost time," Ming Yu said, and then lowered his head and went to the desk to file a complaint. More than half of his plan has been completed. This is the result of his discussions with General Xie for several days. When he has completed the remaining points, he can hand them over to Xie Yishou and let him see what else is missing. He has to organize and plan it as soon as possible, so that it can be implemented as soon as possible, and strive to wipe out the gang of bandits. Xu Wen finally put his heart down. He believed in the prince. Since the prince said it was fast, he already had confidence. After Xu Wen left, Ming Yu sent someone to call Commander Mo over. The information sent by Xu Wen was very useful. If you want to split within the bandits, you must send clever people to sneak into their interiors. And such candidates can only be selected in the guard camp. The training items in the guard battalion are based on Ming Yu's training method combined with later arms. And under the advice and guidance of Xie Yishou, it has been integrated with the current method of warfare. In recent days, it has been improved a lot. This kind of training to penetrate the enemy, gain the enemy's trust, and obtain information is a project that Ming Yu set up from the beginning. It is easier to sneak into the enemy to make trouble than to obtain information. So far, the soldiers of the escort battalion should be able to complete the task well. They can't be united internally, which is naturally beneficial to our side. This chess piece may have unexpected effects at a critical juncture. In any case, this pawn has to be put into place. After writing the last stroke, Ming Yu smiled contentedly while looking at the still dry ink on the paper, and then stretched his waist. In the Imperial Palace, the Emperor was furious when he saw the Liangzhou newspaper expedited in his hand, slapped the imperial case with a slap. A group of bastards, there are bandits so rampant near Liangcheng. What are Lu Zhen and Wei Wuji doing? The palace servants saw His Majesty's anger, and everyone was cautious, for fear I accidentally bumped into my head. Prince Ming Yi is sitting next to him. His father has been in poor health these days, so he is here to assist his father in government affairs. He is the crown prince. The little things, the real important things are still up to the father to make up his mind. He was careful and tried his best to be as good as possible. He didn't expect that when the father saw a letter from the border area, Longyan was furious. Are people attacking again? Thinking that the 14th brother is still in Liangcheng, Ming Yi's heart is raised. If Liangcheng is in danger, what will Ming Yu do? Anxiety in his heart, his face naturally came out. He stood up. Father, what happened to Liangcheng? Could it be a barbarian? The emperor glanced at him, handed him the message, and asked him to. After seeing it, Ming Yi was worried about Ming Yu at this time, and he did not shy away from it. He took the letter with both hands and looked at it with 10 lines. The emperor's anger is still not good. Thieves and bandits are very common in the border areas, and there has been no effective way to control them. It's just that they didn't dare to be so rampant in previous years, so they just turned a blind eye. Now the bandits are committing crimes around Liangcheng. There is still his son, the old 14th, in Liangcheng. In this case, is his son's safety still there? He didn't want to hear bad news one day. It was for this reason that Longyan was furious. Ming Yi finally finished reading the first letter. It wasn't that the barbarians were knocking on the side, and the 14th brother was fine. Seeing that there was a letter behind it, it was Ming Yu's handwriting, so he quickly opened it. It turned out that Lu Zifu and General Wei insisted on jointly writing a letter, reporting to the emperor the original reason, and asking for punishment. Ming Yu also had to write a letter to explain to the emperor and try to save the 2 adults. You must know that this matter can be big or small. The political achievements of these 2 largest civil and military officials in Liangzhou are quite remarkable. In addition, he has a tacit understanding with him in government affairs. If the 2 of them are convicted of this, no matter what, Ming Yu does not want to see it. That's why he also took a letter behind the letter, at least to help the 2 talk, so that the father emperor can be punished lightly, or the merits can be revoked. He didn't know that most of the reasons for the emperor's anger were because he was worried about his safety. Father, calm down, there is a letter from the 14th brother. Please read it. Ming Yi presented Ming Yu's letter. The emperor was stunned when he heard that there was still a letter from the old 14. He was also in a hurry just now. And he was very angry just after reading it. He didn't find the letter that Ming Yu was behind. After receiving the letter, it turned out to be the handwriting of the old 14. With his teeth and claws very much like him. Father Emperor is well, and the son is very good here. There is no shortage of everything, but a little money. As soon as the letter began, the emperor was angrily laughed. This son really can't take him. How can there be any? Does the prince cry out for poverty all day long? I am afraid that others will not know that he is about to drink the northwest wind. They are all princes, and they are still so unstable. What is the reason? He deserves to be poor. Who told him not to jump into the nest of blessings, but instead jump into the pile of chaff? This is called self-inflicted sin. Father, don't be angry. The thieves and bandits only need to be handed over to the son, and the son will definitely beat them down, and their mothers do not know it. As for Lu Zifu, General Wei will let them forget their merits and sins. You just have to wait for our good news. Finally, I wish the Father Emperor long live, long life, and rule the rivers and lakes. Peace. If the Father Emperor still have some money in your hands, it is better to help the minister's son. The rivers and lakes are in a hurry. At the end, His Majesty Emperor was dumbfounded. This is what is written. This bastard is here to discuss in debt? He just said, what good things can old 14 do when he opens his mouth? Don't you want him to give money to the father? However, his harassment and entanglement made the emperor's anger a lot less. Ming Yi observed his words, and saw the dark clouds on the emperor's face dissipate. He smiled a little, and his heart relaxed a little, and said with a smile, Father, I don't know what the 14th brother said. In the entire palace, there is probably only Ming Yu. It is easy to change the emperor's temper. Now without him, the palace is much colder, and there is no such thing as the past, and it makes people a little uncomfortable. What else can I say? It's not like you're crying out for poverty in front of me. Sigh. Children are all debts, and this is true throughout the ages. Although the emperor's words were complaining, he was faintly happy. No matter how old his son was, he still needed his father. Ming Yi didn't even point it out. What the emperor disliked most was that someone could speculate on the Sacred Heart. Thunder and rain were all the kindness of the prince, including him, the prince. Speaking of which, Ming Yu in the palace is not afraid of this trick. Anyway, under the gag and harassment, even the emperor with the unfathomable Sacred Heart will eat his trick. Ming Yi was close to the emperor's words and smiled, although the 14th brother has not been adjusted. He still thinks about you, the father. Last time, he specially sent someone to Beijing for the crystal glass mirror for the father. Are you here? He thought hard but couldn't remember. The emperor reminded him, it's glasses and something called slam. Ming Yi, who was reminded, said happily, it's called this, the emperor can use it well. Didn't you also praise the 14th brother's intentions? The thing that Ming Yu specially sent to Beijing last time is really easy to use. You only need to wear it every time you approve the memorial. It is really clear and refreshing to see things, and the eyes are not so good tired. It is also difficult for this son to think of him all the time, but the precious crystal glaze given by Lao Su, there are not many in the entire Dayan country, he just squandered it like this. It is really heartbreaking. Lao Ju has been grinding him for so long, and he is not willing to give it to Lao Ju. Until now, Lao Ju often complains in front of him that he is biased. The emperor was proud in his heart, but he didn't show it on the surface. Humph. The old 14th doesn't do business all the time. But he has a hard time thinking about these strange and tricky skills. Ming Yi lowered his head and didn't dare to answer. The emperor looked at the prince, who was self-denying and respectful. Trembling on his knees, he pleaded guilty, "Father, please forgive me." The emperor was helpless, and he didn't say anything. Why? If the old 14 said that, he would definitely climb up the pole. And even scolding him could be regarded as a good word. He looked at the prince, who was kneeling on the ground. "Get up. Our father and son are just gossiping. What's the point of talking on our knees?" The prince is the first child between him and the Empress Yuan. He and the young couple of the Empress Yuan have a strong relationship. I still remember how excited he was when the prince was born. In order to choose a name, he spent several days without sleeping, and used almost all the words with good meanings. In the end, the Empress Yuan personally picked the word Yi, which represented the meaning of bright and prosperous. They all hoped that this child would be bright and splendid in his life, which was their sustenance. The child who was in the palm of his hand at the beginning has grown up. He is as gentle as jade, and his splendor is bright. But his temperament is a little more cautious and docile. As the heir of a big country, he still lacks courage. That's all, there's still more time now, take your time. Seeing him like this, the emperor softened his tone. Today there are no monarchs and ministers here, only father and son. Let's talk about family gossip. Like your 14th brother, who is making trouble for me all day long. Can I really ignore him? It's a father and son, blood is thicker than water. Who said that there is no father and son in the heaven? If there is no family affection, the old 14 would have lost his head. Yes, my son understands, Ming Yi said, moved. But he was only moved by that moment. He was in the position of one person below 10,000 people, and he knew very clearly that he was facing a cliff, and even if he was not careful, he would fall to pieces. Perhaps only the 14th brother with this temperament can enjoy the so-called family affection of the heavenly family. The father is benevolent, and I think the 14th younger brother also knows this. Although he is a little reckless, he also knows that the father is tolerant and kind, so every time he runs into the pot, he runs to the father and hides. That's true. Thinking of Ming Yu's misfortune in those years, the emperor couldn't help laughing. He still remembered that concubine Hui's small warehouse was set on fire by Ming Yu. At that time, concubine Wei was so angry that Ming Yu ran like a quail. The one hiding behind him. He was angry and funny, but what could he do to see his pitiful appearance? Of course his son must be protected by himself. Thinking of these past events, the emperor's eyes became much kinder. But when he thought of Ming Yu's letter, he couldn't get angry at all. He will eradicate the bandits by himself. These bandits are ruthless and cunning. What is he to take this matter on himself? Aren't they afraid that he is in danger? The 14th brother thinks that it is a good intention to come, and wants to share your worries for the father emperor. Well, although he likes to cause trouble, he also has his own measure. Ming Yi comforted. Measurement? What measure can he have? If he has half of your peace of mind, I will be relieved. The emperor frowned. The only people he can use are 500 guards. In the last letter, he said that he sent 200 guards to escort the caravan. What can the remaining 300 people do? Isn't there still a garrison on the border? No matter how bad it is, there will be a Red Robe army. The Red Robe army wants to prevent the enemy from invading, and the frontier garrison is not good or bad, but it is impossible to count on them. If they are really useful, will they let the bandits run rampant? I will start worrying about the old 14. As long as he decides, the 9-headed horse won't be able to pull it back. He said that he wants to deal with the bandits, that's what he made a decision. But how is it so easy to deal with bandits? The emperor was worried and full of helplessness color. Father, how can this be good? I heard father say so. Ming Yi also began to worry. The only thing I can do is hurry up and make a decree that Wei Wuji and Xie Yishou will protect him. By the way, next time you send someone to deliver something, by the way, you will bring a pair of crystal-colored glass to the old 14. After thinking about it, the emperor still ordered his stupid son. If he really drinks the northwest wind, it's not his face as a father that's lost. Whoops! I heard that the stupid son went to the border and lost a lot of weight. I think he was hungry, right? Thinking about it hurts again. Ming Yi obediently agreed. Ming Yu didn't know that he was just crying, and then asked the emperor's father for money, which caused the emperor to lose a pair of crystal glass. Although his hands are a little tight now, it's not that he can't really live. Last time, among the goods sent by His Royal Highness, there was a banknote that the emperor secretly compensated him, which the emperor took out of his private treasury at his own expense. The prince also subsidized him to some extent, so that he would not be stretched. However, Ming Yu insists that crying children have candy to eat, and doesn't mind what's wrong with crying out for poverty. Money is such a thing. The more the better, isn't it? After all, he is really short of money now. Let's see which one of his items should not be spent on. He watched helplessly as the money flowed out like running water. But it didn't come back at all. How could he not be impatient? As for the caravan, I can't see any effect yet, so I can only wait slowly.